quick video about critiquing student maps. This may not be the end all be all of the discussion, but should get started. So I'll just go through these a good kind of set of criteria that the students themselves use to critique other maps. So therefore, it's reasonable to apply it to their maps, and then we'll look at a few examples and see what we see. So could talk about the map frame itself. So pan, zoom, projection, for example. Ancillary items, are they there when they shouldn't be? Are they not there when they should be? Are they appropriate stylistically? Are they cluttered? Are they too big relative to the map frame? Reference metadata appropriateness, we probably won't worry as much about this, but sometimes it's good to say what your sources are. Full layout aesthetic. This is sort of just the whole thing together. So is there balance? Is there good figured round? Do things that recede visually recede, or that should recede, do they recede? Is it cluttered? Is there a lot of empty space? Oops. Map symbology and the legends. This is looking back in the actual map, the things that you do first in map view in ARC to say, does the color scheme make sense? Is it continuous for continuous data and categorical for categorical data? Are symbols reasonably sized and colored, etc.? So let's just look at a few examples here. These are coming from activity 1. So most of these they're based on a template, so they should be pretty similar. So that's why I'm saying this might not be the last word on map critique here. But I've brought up one here, and this one looks good as far as overall. It's appropriate zoom level on the continental US. It has a meaningful title. The main event, the map, pops versus the background, which recedes with that light gray. The scale bar is present but not dominant. The legend is fine. It doesn't have any extra unintelligible words on there. I would say the north arrow is okay, but having it up in the top right corner makes it not really useful. Probably should be grouped with the other ancillary items. The color scheme is okay. The color scheme is somewhat continuous and intuitive, meaning that red is the lowest income. So kind of like red, bad, blue, good. So might be able to do it better, but on a initial map like this, I wouldn't have any complaints about that. So I'd have a number of positive things to say here, and really just minor, small things, with the placement of the north arrow being one of them. Here's another one that's also pretty good. I would say the zoom level, it could be zoomed in a little more, and then the ancillary items could be placed around the actual map. There's a bit too much blank space in this. I like how the north arrow is very subtle because it's probably not really that important in this kind of map. The scale bar, on the other hand, is maybe a little bit visually dominant, just with all the black ink on there, but not a big deal. I guess I just think of it as dominant compared to the legend, which is right next to it, where all the text is a lot smaller. So why would the legend text be smaller than the scale bar text? I'm not a big fan of saying the word legend above the legend, but that's just me. It's got a good descriptive subheader. The use of this continuous or sequential coloring scheme from dark purple to light is good. That's fine. I think it highlights the high income areas pretty well. The title, maybe disparities isn't the right word, but that's not really the point of this assignment. Here's one that is honestly mostly fine, other than the fact that the orientation isn't appropriate for a map of the continental United States. The US just lends itself to landscape positioning. What am I saying? Landscape orientation of the paper. And this one doesn't do that. And she knows that. And I said to everyone, don't worry about it for this one. But it's still, since we're just offering feedback, that would be pretty obvious feedback on this one. Here's a fun one. So obviously the orientation is wrong, but there's a bigger issue here where the data are clearly not correct. It is very well, you can look at the data values on the legend and say those are not incomes. And then you can also look at what is more or less like a longitudinal gradient of the color scheme. And so this usually results from students not changing the default attribute field. And so that usually means that they're mapping something like the perimeter of the county. So shape length would be the name of the attribute. And that's probably confirmed because you look in like New Mexico and Arizona, and you've got some huge counties which have really big perimeters, and those ones are the darkest. And then lots of little counties in Appalachia and the Northeast, and those have the smallest numbers. So that's one kind of big mistake here because it's simply the wrong data. Okay, last one. I just kind of like going through these. This one's okay. It could be zoomed in a little more to get the data more in your face. We see a little too much of Canada here. Scale bar is okay, but I would group it with the legend. The legend has a border that's too thick, given that the map creator hasn't figured out how to space the information, like the actual color patches and the words from the edge of the border. So, one of those two things would need to happen. And probably the biggest issue I have is that the title kind of looks like it fell out of the map frame. And so it might be okay if there were more white space on top than on bottom to indicate that, like, hey, there's still some stuff that's going to be done up here, and that thing is the title. And then you'd want to put the title all on one line. So it just makes better use of this, where you have more available left to right space than up down space. Okay, I'll leave it at that for now.